Shoot. Yeah, it should be on.
Where we at? We on both platforms?
Yeah, it should be on YouTube and um, what is it? SUBK classes.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be 12. That should be 12. I'm checking it out.
Yeah, we on. Look like we live. Israel. Israel. Young man. Over here. Have a seat. The water. We good to go? Not to go. Oh yeah, I see us. I see we yeah. You can do a sound check.
Check, check, check. Okay.
Good.
Come on, bro.
Let's share the class. Share the class. You share it, I'm share it. Get some people up in here.
Exactly where to go.
So WAP stepped out.
I'm not sure.
All right, we're gonna get it. We're about to get it in. All right, let's get it in. This is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. I'm Precinct Officer Tawaka Bar, standing in for Precinct Officer Karataza. Uh, yeah, this is the Brotherhood class, and the topic is Africans are not your brother. And this is to black people in America who think that we and Africans are the same people, right? We are not the same people. Um, we don't have the same spirit. We don't have the same style. There's a lot of things that you can pinpoint when it comes when it comes to the difference of African Americans, quote unquote, black people that came on slave ships, and native Africans that come to America on airplanes. You feel what I'm saying? So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into what the Lord say. And first of all, in order for black people to understand in America that they're not African, they have to know their history, right? They have to know, their heritage and who they are and what they people stood for. And learning the Bible is how you do that. not learning this from the white man's education system, not learning this from, the conscious community. Speaking of the conscious community been taking L after L after L, right? Conscious community been taking hella L's. You know what I'm saying? And what the conscious community has showed black people, if you're a wise person, what the conscious community have showed you is that they don't have the answers to solve the issues and the problems of the black community. The conscious community, whether it's Pan-African, whether it's Egyptology, whether it's what's another one? Pan-African Egyptology, the House of Consciousness, Nuwapian, uh, all of those things that say that we are African, those ideologies and those philosophies and those doctrines have showed in very recently, that they don't have the answer for black people. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna name no names because we already know, but what the conscious community has done to black people is shown that you can still rape, you can sleep with strippers, you can beat your wife, you can be a pedophile. These are, I just named four things. These are some of the things that four different men who were like the leaders of the conscious community, are the most known and the most famous of the conscious community, have done. And it just shows you that they don't have what it takes to teach our people the morality that our people need to learn in order to heal and become better, right? And so what this class is about is just showing you that everybody ain't your brother. Just because we black does not mean that we are the same people. Just because we came from West Africa does not mean we are the same people. You understand? Uh, so if I could, let me see here. One second. Let me get Deuteronomy 28 and 68 if you could. And I just want to show, if you're in this class, make sure you share this class. And if you're in any of those blackity black groups, those ancestral African groups, those original man groups, share this in here. Because see, the Bible has the blueprint, it has the history and the prophecies of how we got here. How are we even in this situation in America? How did we even get here in this land, this strange land? And the Bible 4,000 years ago prophesied this, right? This is the Lord speaking through Moses, telling the people, the children of Israel, that just came out of Egypt. We was just in Egypt for 430 years, and now we're free. And the Lord led us out by destroying the Egyptians, bringing the plagues. You thought coronavirus was a plague. The Lord of hosts, the Lord of war, or you can call him the God of pandemics, brought 10 pandemics on Egypt, right? He brought 10 pandemics on the Egyptians, to the point where the last pandemic was the firstborn of all of Egypt would die, right? And the Pharaoh said, you know what? Go. The Pharaoh let up and let the Lord's people go. And we went into the wilderness, and our people fought with Moses right after seeing all of those miracles, the Lord using those pandemics. I think one of them was locusts. Locusts swarmed the Egyptians, ate up all their crops and was everywhere. Another one of them was frogs. Could you imagine coming outside and frogs everywhere like flies, right? Another one of them was all the water turned into blood, and the Egyptians could not drink the blood. I mean, they couldn't drink the blood, so what? They was dehydrated. They was dying. In the book of Josephus, it's like we don't got that, but in the book of Josephus, Josephus says that when that plague came, the Egyptians could not drink the blood, but the blood was like water to the Israelites. And what that shows you is that the Lord will give you a heaven even in the midst of your hell. That's what he did to those Africans. That's what he did for his people in the midst of the Africans, of the Egyptians, right? But the Lord is the God of pandemics, man. You think coronavirus is the end of it. The Lord can bring anything, man. He can bring an earthquake, a tornado. They just had an earthquake in Haiti, man. He can bring a tornado. He can bring a tsunami. He can bring whatever, right? And what is a gun or a tank or any of the things that the so-called white man have compared to one of those things, right? We're talking about the Lord of hosts, which is the Lord of war, man. This is not no God that is a sweet, loving God. He's a merciful God, but at the same time, man, the Lord is a man of war. So he brought on all of that stuff, right? And when they got out of Egypt, the children of Israel turned around and rebelled against Moses. And because they was out there in the wilderness, they said, you know what? We had food every day when we was in Egypt. We had nice things when we was in Egypt. And they wanted to go back to Egypt. And they wanted to still worship the gods of Egypt, even after the Lord showed them all of those wonderful wonders and bringing them out of the land of bondage, right? So we was in Egypt before, and in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, this is the Most High speaking through Moses, telling the children of Israel, if you obey my commandments, these are the good things that will happen to you. But if you don't, this is what will happen to you. Give me that out.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The Lord said that he would bring us into Egypt again with ships. We had just left Egypt. If you could, just for the edification, I want to give the people what is he saying. So give me Exodus 20 and 1, if you could. Exodus 20 and 1, so we can understand when the Lord says he will bring you into Egypt again with ships. What does this Egypt mean? Because we just came out of Egypt, right? So give me that precept.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Out of the what?
Out of the house of bondage.
So Egypt means the house of bondage, right? I believe Egypt is a Greek word that means bondage. But this is what the Lord is saying. You can go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. This is what the Lord is saying. He's not saying you're going to go back into the physical Egypt. This is figuratively. So this is not, when he said you're going to go back into Egypt again, this is figuratively now. This is not talking about the Egypt you just came out, the land of Egypt with the pharaohs and the gold tipped sandals and all of that stuff these niggas in the conscious community like to harp over, right? Keep going. Keep reading. Started from the top, Deuteronomy 28 and 68.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With ships. Not only would you go into bondage again, this time you would go into bondage with ships. Now I got a question for the people listening online. Who on the planet Earth went into bondage by ships? By large boats, by ships. Who on the planet Earth? I'm gonna wait a minute. I can see if anybody, comment. Anybody that's watching. Wait a minute. Could you grab a laptop out, and I want you to monitor the chat for me. Anybody who on the planet Earth? This is not rocket science, right? But when you get out there in the world, a heathen will tell you, everybody been in slavery. The Irish was in slavery. It's people today is in sex trafficking. They in slavery. But who went on ships into bondage as a whole nation, right? As a whole people. We're not talking about individuals. We're not talking about a group of people. We're not talking about somebody shipwreck. We're talking about a whole nation of people that went into bondage. I'm going to give it to you. It's the children of Israel. It's black people. The transatlantic slave trade, right? And to be honest with you, more slaves went to the West Indies than they actually did to North America.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so God's people are scattered. The transatlantic slave trade went to the West Indies, it went to Europe, and it went to America. But the majority of brothers and sisters taken out of West Africa ended up in Mexico, Central Mexico, South America, in the West Indies, Caribbean islands, the Virgin Islands, those areas, right? Keep reading.
Come on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So where Moses is telling the people where I'm speaking this to you, where I'm telling you this at, you shall see this place no more again. And we ain't never seen that land anymore, right? We ain't never been. We over here, hundreds of years. Thousands of years later, we over here in America don't even know we from the Middle East.
No.
We think we from Africa. We don't even know our natural home, where our natural homeland is, man. Right? He said we won't see it no more. Keep going up.
Come on.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
Right.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You shall be sold to your friends.
To your enemies.
To your homeboys.
Unto your enemies.
To your co-workers.
Unto your enemies.
You shall be sold unto your enemies, man. The transatlantic slave trade, your enemies sold you. Your enemies gathered you up. This is crazy, not to talk, because when it comes to the slave trade, we always focus on the so-called white man.
Right.
We focus hard on him. He brought us over here. He enslaved us with the Bible, right? He enslaved us with the Bible, and he's the bad guy, right? Which he is the bad guy. But when somebody buys and somebody sells, there's two parties in that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? There's two parties involved.
Right.
The white man was the buyer,
Right.
but there was a seller. And that's what Black people in America need to understand. We focus so much on the so-called white man that we forget about the other counterpart of slavery.
Right.
Who sold you to the white man? Who gathered you up? Who warred with you? Who fought you? Who kidnapped you? Who kidnapped you and put you on them slave ships and brought you to those castles in Ghana and West Africa, waiting for the slave ships to come and get you, right? Who sold you for wine and for salt and for spices and for musket guns? That Africans did. That's who sold you. That's the part you forget about. That's the part that Black people forget about. They forget about the fact that Africans sold you.
No.
And you wouldn't sell your goddamn brother. Right? You wouldn't sell your brother. That's like me and you growing up as children. You go your way, I go my way. We in two different cities, and we get rich and we wax fat, right? We have children, and now down there we from just us, we got whole towns, right? And then one day we get into it. And then I say, you know what? I'ma sell your kinfolk to these pale people that's gonna take them across the Atlantic, and they never gonna see this land again. That don't sound like a brother to me.
Right.
That sound like a goddamn enemy. That sound like somebody that knows we ain't the same. And that's the that's the simplicity of Black people. That's how simple we are. We love simplicity. We so goddamn simple, right? And we believe what the so-called white man that we blame for everything, we believe him in the education system where he say you African American and that you African. We believe that part, right?
Right.
We'll look at him like he's the devil and then turn around and believe him to think that Africans are our brothers instead of looking at what's right in your face, man. They sold you to the so-called white man. And a lot of Black people don't like to do no goddamn research and open up a book. Just open up a book and research your history, man. Well, in ISBK, we done did the extensive research, man. We done did the extensive research. There's a book It's the memoirs of Captain Crow. I got the book. What I like to do is read the memoirs of slave ship masters, white men, to tell about all of their adventures and how in going to get slaves.
All right.
And they sat down and they negotiated with Africans. They didn't go over there shooting guns and fighting Africans to take slaves. Africans is the one that gathered you. They went over there and sat down and mingled with the Africans and had parties with the Africans and lived amongst the Africans on the coast of West Africa. And they made great deals and they made a lot of money. But also, guess who else made a lot of money? The so-called Africans. I mean, not the so-called, but the Hamites, the Africans.
Right.
The Africans from Ghana, from the Guinea Coast, from the Gold Coast, from Benin. They made a lot of money selling God's chosen people into the transatlantic slave trade. So is that it only?
Sir.
Yeah, finish it.
Con.
So what the scripture just said, listen, you will be sold to your enemies, man, not your friends. And this only happened to one group of people. This happened to God's people. And today you think the people that sold you are your brothers. And you think the people that bought you are your friends. Go ahead,
Con. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
For bondmen and bondwomen. Young man, what do you think bondwomen and bondmen mean? You shall be sold to your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. What do you think that means?
So you did say it's Egyptians, right?
No. I'm going to give it to you. A bondman or bondwoman is a slave woman and a slave man. So you will be sold as slaves. We were sold as slaves to the Europeans, or whatever you want to call them. Europeans, the British, whatever you want to call them, we were sold to them. Right? Go ahead,
For bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
And no man shall what?
And no man shall buy you.
No man shall buy you. That means no man will redeem you. No man could save you from this. And there has been no man to save us from this, right? Go ahead and get that out. There has been no one to save black people from captivity. In fact, because of that, we've been here so long that we don't even realize that we are in captivity. Captivity is slavery. We don't realize that we don't have control of our own selves in America. We don't realize that we don't have certain freedoms. We don't even realize that we are oppressed. Even with what happened with, George Floyd and all of the police brutality, all of the things that happened to our sisters, all of the black women that have come up missing, that are missing, all of the little black girls and little black boys that have come up missing, we don't even realize what's going on with us, right? We don't understand that we are in captivity. And because of that, we are continually destroyed in America. We are continually destroyed because the light bulb hasn't popped up in our head yet.
Right.
For some reason. And you would think that it would have already. Like what Mike Brown happened in 2010. You would have thought that something would have clicked inside of us to say, this is not life. This ain't living. I posted that the other day. This ain't living.
Right.
This ain't living the way we die. We die horrible deaths. We die deaths that are inhumane. We die deaths that make no sense and make you grab your head and say, why? We die horribly in America. And part of that reason is because, number one, we're wicked. Sometimes we're wicked as hell. Number two is we just don't know. We die for a lack of knowledge. And that knowledge is the fact that we're God's chosen people. And part of that knowledge also is realizing that you're not African, right? You're not African. We're not African, right?
Right.
We're God's chosen people. And it was prophesied. Slavery, as we just read right here, was prophesied. It was prophesied in the Bible that the children of Israel, if they didn't listen, if they didn't follow the law, statute, and commandments, that they would go into slavery. And the Lord allowed this not just one time, but a lot of times. We've been in captivity in Babylon. We've been in captivity in Egypt. We've been in captivity in the Persian Medes had us in captivity. The Greeks had us in captivity. The Romans had us in captivity. And America has us in captivity. But that goes to show how of a hard-headed people God's people are, and how we refuse to follow and keep his law, statute, and commandments. That's it on it, right? You can drop that. Give me, let's see what I want. Give me Exodus 1 and 11. So we just read in how slavery is in the Bible. Once we got here in America, now we're going to find out what happened to us when we got here in America. What is still happening to us. Not only that, what happened to all of God's people? Because you know the 10 tribes was already on this side of the earth before Benjamin, Levi, and Judah got over here in the transatlantic slave trade. So you already had the Gadites, you already had the Seminole Indians. Hey, shalom, brother. How you doing? You already had the Seminole Indians. You had Issachar over here. You had all of the Hispanic, what you want to call the Hispanic tribes, were on this side of the earth already before we got here. But when Christopher Columbus first encountered them, he put them on ships and took them back in slavery to Spain, right? So even they fit the curses of going on ships into captivity, right? Going on ships into slavery. Go ahead.
Oh, Salakia, sir. We had a question online.
What's the question?
Salakia. The question was, may I ask, are we going to go through 10 different plagues? Meaning like as far as like this time period with the Lord putting America to judgment.
No, we don't know how many plagues we're going to go through. We do know that in the last days there will be pestilences. If you could grab that for me, that's in what is that? We do know what we do know is that in the last days, the signs of being in the last days, right? Let me get that for you real quick.
Is that Matthew?
Yeah. It's Matthew 24:7. But you might want to get 24, probably start at like 21. 24, I'm sorry, 24, probably start at like 3. So I'll show you what we do know. Like there's no scripture that pinpoints the how many plagues will come upon America in these last days, but we do know we're in the last days when we see certain things happening. Now Egypt had them 10 plagues. Egypt had a pandemic P. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is the God of pandemics. When it came to Egypt, he was dropping them left and right. Because they were stiff-necked and they wouldn't let his people go. So again, it's Matthew 24. You want to start? Let me see.
24. 24:6.
Is that where the disciples is asking them when would the time be?
When the disciples asked him, it's 24:3.
Okay, let's start there.
Khan. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming?
So they wanted to know the sign of Christ's return, the sign of him coming back. Right? Keep reading.
Khan. Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? and of the end of the world. And Yahushua answered and said unto
read it plainly.
Come on. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you.
So he said, take heed that no man deceive you. Don't be lied to. Don't let no man lie to you and tell you what's like when we was growing up, what was it? It was 2000. They said it was gonna be the end of the world. Everything was gonna shut off. The computers was gonna fry and
Right.
everything was gonna go out of control. Then what it was 2012, they said it was the end of the world. I think they said it was the end of the Mayan calendar.
Right.
You know what I mean? People, you got people that rise up as fake Christ all the time that say, "Oh, this is the end of the world. The end of the world is going to be this day," right? The Bible says, "Let no man deceive you. Let no man lie to you." Go ahead,
Come on. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
So many. It's been many false prophets. There's been many men that have rose up and said that they are Christ. You got people today that say that they're Jesus Christ. It's a fake Jesus Christ that walked the streets of Philadelphia that came up against the camp, right? You have many people that say they are Christ, or they have the Spirit of the Lord. They have the Spirit of Christ, right? And they lead people into destruction. I don't know. Did Jim Jones say he was Christ? I can't remember or not. When he killed all those people and they drank the Kool-Aid with poison in it.
Ah, man. I think it had something
to
to do with the chariots.
Okay, you had what was the dude in Waco, Texas? David Koresh or something. He led a lot of people. Astray. But you always have people that rise up and say, "The Spirit of the Lord is with me." You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ gave me a revelation. You know what I mean? It's always going to be like that. But you can't be deceived. You got to look for the signs, and you got to be circumspect and use wisdom. Go ahead,
Come on. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. That's been our whole life. If you my age, I ain't trying to give my age away, but if you're my age, I was born in 1980, that's been my whole life. That's been your whole life of hearing about Iraq, Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, wars and rumors of wars. You hear that to this very day, right? So what? You know it's the last day.
Right.
Keep reading.
See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass.
Don't be troubled, because it's a lot of things that must come to pass. You're going to hear about wars. You're going to hear about, somebody shooting the missiles over here. China got a ballistic missile that can go from the mainland and reach California. You're going to hear about all of the threats and all of the things that these different nations is doing in their boldness in defying one another, but don't be troubled. Go ahead,
Come on. These things must come to pass.
These things got to happen. Go ahead.
But the end is not yet.
Mm-hmm.
For nation shall rise against nation.
Nation shall rise up against nation. We're seeing that right now. We see nations rise up against nation. What's a nation rising up against a nation? Give me an example. Not to lie.
So like what is it? Is the Amalek rising against Palestinians?
I take that. That's definitely one. The so-called Jew who lives in Israel today, he's constantly fighting with the Palestinians, who are the children of Ishmael, who have been in that land since biblical times. So they rightfully so, they are upset, and they fight every damn day. Right? They shooting. The so-called Jew is shooting missiles from Predator drones at Palestinians on motorcycles. Right? And Palestinians are throwing rocks. They're picking up rocks and throwing it back at tanks. So the so-called Jew, he has all the firepower and artillery, but the point is that they are in battle on a daily basis. Go ahead. Now, Tazaki, you want to say something?
So like I was gonna say also, like the Proud Boys versus like the BLM and
Oh yeah. All the political what Black Lives Matter
kind of
versus Proud Boys. Um, another nation rising up against another nation is the so-called white man coming against our Hispanic brothers and putting them in integration camps,
right?
Immigration detention centers. That is a nation rising up against another nation. And the reason why I say that is because many immigrants come in America every day. But why are they only focusing on our Mexican brothers? It's because they're the children of Israel. You got Asians, you got Albanians, you got people from all Haitians, not Haitians, but what is the Ethiopians, Irish? You got, and don't talk about Canada's border.
Right.
You got all kind of people coming into America, but they only zero in on our Hispanic brothers, right? That's because they're the children of God, right? And so nation rising up against nation is also the white man, hanging you and lynching you from trees. A real, like a more recent one is black people raising up after George Floyd, raising up against this whole, the white man system, after seeing George Floyd have a knee put on his neck for 8 minutes, right? A nation rising up against another nation. We like to look at people as human beings, or we like to look at each other as, if you live on a landmass, you're American, right? So whether you came from whatever country you come from, you're American. But no, that's not how it works, man. We're all different. And the Bible is telling you what would happen in the last days. You would see nations rising up against one another. Nation rising up against nation. Keep reading on it.
Come on. And kingdom against kingdom.
And kingdom against kingdom. Keep reading.
And there shall be famines.
And there shall be famine. Starvation. A lack of food. Like, really, it's not a lack of food. The white man is just a goddamn devil. He don't want to he want to hold everything and gather everything and hold it to himself, right? And only give out a pinch, right? The white man is greedy and he gobbles up all the land, all the resources, and he wants the people to beg and to go to him and ask him, right? That's what he wants. But there are famines in the earth, around the earth, where people are just starving and they need food because their government is destroyed or because their land is destroyed and they can't grow anything. Keep reading.
Come on, God. And there shall be famines and pestilences.
COVID-19.
Right.
COVID-19 is a pestilence, right? And we say it all the time. We say it every time we go to camp. Because when we go to camp, we see everybody enjoying their life and thinking things have gotten to normal. And we tell them the Lord is bringing more pestilences.
Right.
You think COVID-19 was the end of it. And the Lord has already brought another one. He called, what is it? The new variant? What is it called?
It's called COVID-22.
It's called COVID-22.
Come on, God.
The one they say it's a new variant, and now they afraid all over again. But the Lord is going to bring more pestilences. You just make sure that you keep the law, statutes, and commandments, so that you will be covered from all of these things that the Lord is bringing.
Right.
Keep reading.
Come on, God. And earthquakes in diverse places.
And earthquakes in diverse places. You can hold that out. So Haiti just had a 7.1 earthquake, right? Earthquake in diverse places. Earthquakes in all kind of places. Earthquakes in places they never had earthquakes before. They don't got a history of earthquakes. We here in California, where we have a history of earthquakes. We're on the San Andreas Fault, so we should expect something heavy coming anytime soon, right? But the Lord is bringing earthquakes in places where they never happened before. They don't have a history of having earthquakes, right? So these are the signs. These are the signs. You know what I mean? And these are the type of plagues. Like the sister asked, was it a sister or a brother?
Slaki. I think it's a brother. I can't
Brother
really see.
asked, is it going to be 10 plagues? Right? Like I guess he was allotted to Egypt. Like it's going to be 10 plagues in America. The Bible don't say how many plagues the Lord is going to bring, but Christ did say in the last days, these are the different things you would see in the last days. So we can drop that.
So like it's It was one more question. I don't know if
Go ahead. Let me see. Let me hear.
I want time for it. It's a quick question. So let's get to it. Another question says, will the Africans go into slavery when Christ returns?
Short answer, yes. The Africans will go into slavery. Africans will go into slavery just like the so-called white man, just like the East Indian, just like all of the nations that have hurt God's chosen people. So that's just a short answer. We can do the scripture. I'm gonna stay on the topic, but yes, the Africans will go into slavery. And let me just, I'll go more into it. I'll go more into it because I was about to say, like, it's kind of hard for a lot of our people to separate Black people in America from Africans, right? Because we're two dark nations. We come from the same continent. We have similar looks. Sometimes we can look similar, right? And so it's hard to separate that. And when your whole life you grew up hearing you're African American, you came from Africa, you're African.
Right.
It's hard to separate yourself and separate your mind from that, right? But I'm gonna show you, and we're gonna show you in the scriptures. So we do Exodus 1 and 11, right?
Come on, God.
So this is what happened once we got here. And this not only applies to so-called Black Americans, this applies to Native American Indians and our Hispanic brothers, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, Argentinian. This applies to all our brothers, right? 12 tribes of Israel. Exodus 1 and 11.
Come on, God. And the first question was a sister, Salaki. The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass.
Hold on. Exodus.
Oh, Salaki. I'm wrong. That's the wrong book. The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
Now, when we was over here in America, we was on the plantations. And what did you have on the plantation? You had an overseer. The Bible calls them a taskmaster. Today at your job, it's called a supervisor. It's called a manager. You know what I'm saying? It's called a process assistant. It's somebody that comes around and makes sure that you're working, make sure that you're being productive, make sure that you're getting that, that quota done for that company, right? Well, in slavery, they came through on a horse with a whip. You know what I mean? To make sure you was picking enough cotton. It's a taskmaster. Make sure you at task. Like some jobs, like I said at camp, some jobs it's a thing called time off task. So they time you. They make sure, like they looking at you and seeing the last time you was scanning, the last time you was doing something, and they say, well, what was you doing in between this time? Like this is how much time you got off task, right? And that's the same thing that they did in ancient Egypt. We had taskmasters when we was building those bricks, building those pyramids and them great places of Egypt. Keep reading.
Come on. What the hell did I just do that? Salaki. The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
To afflict them with their burdens, right? Keep reading.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities. The children of Israel built those great cities. You know those ruins that people like to go and visit in ancient Egypt? Those was built by God's chosen people, right? Being driven by taskmasters, being whipped, being pushed, barely eating, and building mud bricks to build those places. These are treasure cities. You know what a treasure city is, brother? What do you think it's saying when they say treasure city?
Treasure City, importance.
Of importance. That's a good. I'll take that. The brother said a city of importance, and so I was going to say, what do you think a treasure city in America is today? I think I gave it to you.
Are we just talking about just America?
We're comparing Egypt to America.
Oh, it's easy. The White House.
The White House is a treasure city.
Yep.
Get a brother hand. The White House is a treasure city. The White House is a treasure city. What is that? Washington, D.C.?
Right.
That's a treasure city. You know what else is a treasure city? Los Angeles is a treasure city. New York, Miami, Chicago, Seattle. I can go on and on. These are treasure cities of the so-called white man. These are his great cities where, you know, all the commerce is, and it makes his nation look beautiful and look good. Well, the Israelites built treasure cities in ancient Egypt, right? So this is what the Bible is telling us. It's showing us that there's a similarity between us being here in America and us in Egypt, right? And so let's get Amos 7 and 17. So we're going to make the connection between not only the fact that black people are not African, but the fact that, you know, America is Egypt. America has done the same thing Egypt did, which is enslave the children of Israel, use the children of Israel to build up their kingdom. And it's easy to look at. You can just look at us as a people and how important we are to the lifeblood of America. Now we're talking about how do the so-called white man, how does the so-called white man get food on his table, right? How does he get his vegetables, his fruit? That's your Hispanic tribes. In the fields, picking strawberries, you know, picking up watermelons and lettuce, and all of those things that end up on your dinner table, that end up in the grocery store, right? You look at all of the hard jobs in America. It's black and Hispanic people that's working. When it comes to the warehouse, when it comes to driving buses, when it comes to janitors, security guards, cutting your grass, you can just name it. You can just think of things, and you'll see. You will never see. When you think of it, like not just like when you think of this type of job, you'll never see a white man working it.
Right.
The only thing that comes to your mind is a Mexican or a black man or a Native Indian man working that type of job. There's certain jobs where you can just think of and you're like, white people they're not working that job, right? A roofer. Who's doing your roof? Who's doing your goddamn landscaping? Who's doing your landscaping? Right? Who's doing your car? Who's working on your car, right? Like, that's not a little job. That's a big job, you know what I mean? But who's doing it? I mean, you might get a white man work on your car if you go to, like, Midas or Firestorm or something like that. Maybe. Go ahead,
It's like, I was going to say, I forgot what you call them, the ones that pick the vegetables and fruits.
I don't know what the name is. I would just say a laborer. I don't know if they have an actual name.
All right, that's
for,
it.
For
it's
our
car.
Hispanic brothers that that be out in the fields picking the fruit and the vegetables. I don't know if it's a name, but you won't see no white men doing it for damn sure.
All
right. So we do all of those things. We built this country like that. This country depends on us. You know, if we walk away from our jobs overnight, America would fall. The stock market would fall, and white people will be jumping out their houses and committing suicide because they'll see everything just going down the drain because black and Hispanic people decided they're not going to work today. You know what I'm saying? And we just don't know how much power we have as God's chosen people, how much power we hold, right? Do you got Amos 7 and 17?
Con.
This is something also that has happened to our people once being brought to America, right? Go ahead,
Con. The book of Amos, chapter 7 and verse 17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city.
The Bible says that our women would be harlots. Our women would be hoes in the city. We would be destroyed in the city. Would have an OnlyFans in the city. You understand? Would be half naked on social media in the city. Keep reading.
And thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword.
And our sons and our daughters would fall by the sword. Our sons and our daughters would die by the sword. The modern day sword is the gun. And you know, everybody knows it's a fact that Black and Hispanic youth kill one another, right? For petty things, gun crimes, right? Our daughters come up missing by the thousands, right? And die by the sword, die by the gun, die by domestic violence, just die. We're talking about the youth, the younger seeds of our people. This is what will happen in this great city called America, in spiritual Egypt. Go ahead, is that it on it?
Allah, sir.
Go ahead.
And thy land shall be divided by line.
And our land shall be divided by line, meaning there's a line that divides where we live at. We live in the ghetto. We live in the barrios. Everybody knows when you go to the certain area, you know when you're in the hood. You know, like, nigga, this is the hood. I ain't trying to get robbed. Like, people know when they in our communities,
Right.
Compared to other parts of the city, right? Our land is like the Bible says, our land is divided by line. There's a line. Back in the day, they used to do something called redlining, right? Where they didn't want to sell to Black and Hispanics, right? Our land is divided by line. Not only that, in the Jim Crow era, they have signs that say, no dogs, no Mexicans, no Negroes. You know what I'm saying? It's a divided line when it comes to us. You on your part of the tracks, we on our part of the tracks, right? It was a line divided, and people know when they in your town, they in your part of the town. They know when they look at the buildings how tore up they are. They know when they see the homeless people hanging out. They know when they see the drug dealers hanging out. Your land is divided. Your women are whores, and your children are dying by the sword, man. If that's not telling you who we are, I don't know what is. Right? You can drop that. Give me Exodus 11:7, and I'll show you that the Lord put a difference between the so-called Negro and the Egyptians. And you know, Moses. I'm gonna want you to read out of this book too. It's bookmarked on the page. You know, Moses was confused for an Egyptian. Paul was confused for an Egyptian. So in the scriptures, it show you that, you know, if our people dress a certain kind of way, they could go for an Egyptian, but they're not an Egyptian. And we're going to show you right here. Matter of fact, I want you to hold that because it's going to hit harder once the Lord says it. I want you to read this first. Not to lie. Read this first.
Come on.
And then I want you to read Exodus 11:7. So we can understand. We can first hear it from the so-called white man who studied anthropology, right? And he's comparing skulls. So this man, I'm gonna give you a backdrop before you start. This man Morton, he's comparing skulls, and so what he did is he took the skulls, just like in Django, where the white man DiCaprio had the skull of the slave that he grew up with. He took the skull of the slave. He would compare skulls of slaves with skulls of Egyptians, and try to see if they were the same people. So go ahead and read that and read the book. Say what the title is.
Khan. This is the book, The Black Image in the White Mind, page 75. The racial significance of Egyptian tomb inscriptions in Crania,
Egyptica.
Egyptica, published in 1844, Morton pointed out that both cranial and archaeological evidence showed that the Egyptians maintained that the Egyptians were not Negroes.
So when he looked at the cranial and the archaeological, I'm chopping that word up.
Archaeological.
Yeah, archaeology. Salaki, I ain't gonna say it. Archaeology, right?
Archaeological.
Right. When he looked at the cranial archaeological of skulls, studying that, what he found out is that the Negroes were not Egyptian, right? He's comparing the Negro skulls of slaves, and he just show you how the white man is such a devil, that he got our skulls, man, of our forefathers, and he comparing the skulls of our forefathers to the skulls of the Egyptians. This just tell you, you damn niggas that think that you Egyptian something too, that you don't even got no damn power. The white man and the Arabs is over there digging up them bodies and doing whatever the hell they want to do with them. But the point is that he took both skulls and he compared them, and he said, you know what? The Negroes were not Egyptian, because what they found out is that the characteristics of the skull, the cranial structure, does not change over time, right? So keep reading.
Khan. That the Egyptians were not Negroes.
They were not Negroes.
As abolitionists and colonizationists had maintained.
So abolitionists, those are the people that wanted slavery to end and thought slavery was bad. And colonists,
colonizationists, people that are colonizers, these two groups of people also thought that the slaves in America were descended from the ancient Egyptians, right? And he said this is not the case when we looked at their skulls. Go ahead, Al.
Khan. Had same servile position in
Wait. You skipping a part. You skipped something.
Colonizationists had same servile position in ancient Egypt.
Wait.
You wanted the maintain part?
I wanted the part where you like skipping a sentence.
Okay, Con. I see it. Abolitionists and colonizationists had maintained, and that in fact blacks had been regulated. Relegated. Regulated.
Right.
It's like I don't think that relegated.
Relegated. There you
go. To the same servile positions in ancient Egypt as in modern America.
Damn. So they said that they had figured out that black people had been relegated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in America. Meaning that when they did the archaeology, when they broke it down, they realized that black people in America that were slaves then in the 1800s were in the same position that they were in ancient Egypt. And that's why you are God's chosen people. Man. The Bible don't lie. And when the white man who thought that you was inferior anyway went and did the research, he found out he wasn't trying to find that out. He wasn't trying to prove that. That's just something that he learned when he was checking out the skulls. He learned, like, wait a minute, these niggas are not the Egyptians, but they were slaves in Egypt. And that shows you ain't no goddamn Egyptian.
Right.
And you need to stop following Egyptology and Pan-Africanism in the conscious community, because they don't know a goddamn thing, man. You God's chosen people. We not Africans. And people get so upset when we say that, right? But we not. So drop that, give me Exodus 11:7, so that we can make it hit home with the fact that we not Egyptians. We are two dark nations. Yeah, we might have fat lips and we might have, wide nose. We have similarities. But all nations was black. That don't mean they was the same, man. We have similarities in our look, but we are not the same. We don't even have the same spirit, right? Africans don't even have the same spirit of black people when they come over here. It's not as easy as you think. Like being cool with an African and getting along with Africans is the same as getting along with any other heathen in the earth. You're gonna have to put in work. You're gonna have to try. That's why I said I was just talking to a brother, like, you try to be friends with a so-called white man, you're really trying. You feel me? Like, it's just not in me to go try that hard. Some black people, they'll do that. I'm not laughing at all your goddamn jokes. I'm not doing all of that. And I'm just a regular nigga. I love my people. And I'm not trying hard to fit in and squeeze in and be buddy buddy. That's the same thing you would have to do with the so-called African. Because when they come to America, they stick to themselves. They don't like to deal with you. They live in their own section and they stay together. And that's just how it is. There's nothing wrong with that. But black people gotta see that instead of, acting like it don't exist. Go ahead, give me that. Exodus 11:7.
Come on. The book of Exodus, chapter 11 and verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue.
The Bible said, the Lord said, against the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue. Meaning the Lord said, you're gonna have to pay for even speaking ill about black people, even talking slick about black people. And all of these nations talk slick about us and make fun of us and curse us behind our backs, even though they make money off of us.
All right.
The Lord said, shouldn't a dog move his tongue. In Matthew 15, what is that, 24 and 15? What do we call the woman a dog?
Oh, come on.
When he called the woman a dog, Christ called a woman a dog, meaning her whole nation was considered dogs, right? That's how the Lord looked at heathens. So when he say not a dog, shouldn't a dog move his tongue against the children of Israel, he's talking about all of these other nations speaking ill about his people.
All right.
Keep reading.
Come on. Against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
The Lord put a difference between who?
The Egyptians and Israel.
So we not African? We not African. The Lord said he put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. There's a difference between Hamites and Shemites. That's who you derive from, black man. Black man, you derive from Shemite. You derive from Shem, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is your bloodline. That's who you are. You don't come from Ham.
Right.
Right? And the Lord just said it. The Lord just brought it home with what this white man that studied archaeology and anthropology, studying skulls, what he said, well, the Lord just brought it home. That there is a difference between his people, between black people and Egyptians. But niggas love to be Egyptian. What has the conscious community done for black people, right? Other than say that the black woman is God, right? Black woman is God, which is the craziest thing I ever heard, saying a black woman could have a baby herself. That was polite saying that. I was trying not to say polite name.
Right.
But that was the most recent of him saying that a woman has a botulinum gland. And she can have, his rib said that. And she can have a baby without a man. But where in the hell is the woman that did that? I ain't seen it yet.
Right.
Where's the woman that's gonna have a baby by herself, right? Without a man, right? And just to say that the black, just to be able to game a sister up, right? That's what the conscious community does. Game brothers and sisters up. And a lot of y'all want to be gamed up because you'd rather believe you're African than believe you're God's chosen people, because then you got to have some responsibility and accountability for yourself. Give me what is that I want? Salaki. Let me get it. I'll get it real quick.
Is it Amos again?
No. I wanna go into how easy. Give me 2 Timothy 3:6. So they tell the black woman is God and tell a black woman exactly what she want to hear. Exactly what she want to hear and game her up. How come when they say the black woman is God, she always has things? Get that for me out. 2 Timothy 3:6.
Come on.
How come when they say black woman is God, and you look at the picture, she down there butt naked. You never see a sister that's wholesome with natural hair and dressed modest with her clothes on. It's always some hoe with her whole body showing, and they talk in green red and black, talking about the black woman is God. And that's just a game of women. That's no different than a Christian pastor, right? That's what the conscious community is. They are slick talking slicksters, just like the Christian pastors. Tell people what they want to hear, right? To fill their pockets. That's all it is. And what it ends up doing is destroying our people even further. Like, how can you say you love your people if you're not teaching them no goddamn morals, right? So we're supposed to be moralist people, but be gods on earth while we getting shot by the police and our women is twerking in the goddamn street. Get the hell out of here. You got that up?
Come on.
2 Timothy 3, verse 6.
Come on. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 6. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins.
This is talking about, I want you to, can you skip up to probably like 5?
Come on, God. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 5. Having a form of godliness.
Go to 4.
Come on, God. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God.
So this is talking about, I think I could use this right here. Where does it start at? Let me know where it started at. Is it at the beginning? Should we go to?
I would say
1?
probably start at 1.
Okay, go ahead and start.
Come on. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This know also that in the last days, perilous times shall come.
Right.
For men shall be lovers of their own selves.
Men shall be lovers of their own selves. That's the conscious community. That's all those simple Negroes telling you that you African and you Pan-African and you're the ancient Egyptians and that the black woman is God. Go ahead.
Covetous.
Keep reading.
Boisterous.
Loud.
Proud.
Very proudful. The conscious community is very proudful. That pride went down this last couple of weeks. It done went down. You know what I mean? Especially that pride against saying that the Bible is not real and speaking against the Bible,
right.
Speaking against the ISUBK. And like, but what did Polite do? Polite had shot up a Bible. He took the Bible and shot it with a machine gun. Right? And look how the Lord did him. Most High in Christ. Keep reading.
Blasphemers.
Keep reading.
Disobedient to parents.
All of that is going on, right? Go ahead.
Unthankful.
Keep reading.
Unholy.
Right?
Without natural affection.
Keep reading. You know what that is, though. Without natural affection. That's LGBTQ.
Right.
That's not a natural affection. That's a vile affection. Right? The Lord prescribed a man to be with a woman and to have children. That's the natural order of things. Right? And in the I was going to say the LGBT community, the conscious community, which basically is the LGBT community.
Right.
But when you look at the gods of the ancient Egyptians, they had same-sex unions, man. Horus and Seth, right? It's a story of a same-sex relationship. So this is what you're following. This Egyptology and being in the conscious community and Pan-Africanism is basically saying it's in agreement with the LGBT community, right? Keep reading.
Come on. Without natural affection, truce breakers,
right?
False accusers,
keep going.
Incontinent.
Incompetent.
Mm-hmm. Fierce.
Incontent.
Oh, Salakia. Incontent. Fierce. Despisers.
What verse, Will?
We're going to verse 4.
Okay, keep going.
Despisers of those that are good.
Despisers of those that are good. The conscious community hates us. And like I said, like in the truth, you see, when you see us, you understand like there's a certain level of responsibility and accountability that we must uphold, following the law, statute, and commandments. The conscious community don't have to do that, right? They cool with LGBTQ, they smoke weed, they whore their women, they say the black woman is God, they game her up just like a Christian pastor, just like a pimp, right? And they have no morality in that doctrine. There's no morality, and you see it. You see it in the fruits, right? You see it with brothers still selling drugs, still doing drugs, still being whoremongers, and using the women, beating the women. Matter of fact, they claim to be blackity black, and then they'll be with white women. So they have all of the things that a regular person in the world got going on, and they have no self-control. So when they see us, they despise us, right?
All right.
They despise us. They say, "You niggas believe in that sky daddy. Ain't nobody coming to save you," right? They say all kind of things, but they can't prove they're Egyptian. They can't even prove they're African. Go ahead,
Come. Despisers of those that are good. Verse 4. Traitors,
Right.
heady,
Keep going.
high-minded,
Keep reading.
lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God.
Lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And you see that when they get on, all they do is love pleasure, man. Buying cars and being out with different women every day. That's what the conscious community is all about. And getting an Ankh tattooed on your arm. Go ahead,
Khan. Verse 5. Having a form of godliness. Godliness. But denying the power thereof.
Keep reading.
From such turn away.
Turn away from these type of people. Turn away from these brothers and sisters that push false doctrine and philosophy that can't help our people. That can't help you. That can't change your life. Keep reading.
Khan. Verse 6. For of this sort are they which creep into
Now
houses
this is the part I wanted. They creep into houses like a Christian pastor. Go ahead.
and lead captive silly women
Lead captive silly women. Go ahead.
laden with sins.
Laden with sins. A silly woman. A woman. Listen, this is a woman that is not headstrong. This is what you would call in the scriptures a light woman.
Right.
A woman that is, carried away, by whatever she comes across. Whatever any man says anything to her, smiles at her, he could beguile her, right? Keep reading.
Okay. Led away with diverse lusts.
With diverse lusts. You can drop that. Silly women led away with diverse lusts. And guess who they become the victim of? The conscious community that says that you're a God.
Right.
You created a baby, so you're a God.
Right.
Dress like, wear that bikini, wear that. You can be half naked. You can dress how you want to dress because you're a God. You can act how you want to act. You can smoke weed. You can do whatever you want to do because you're a God. Babies come out of your womb. When in reality, a woman can't even get pregnant without a man, right? When in reality, the Lord prescribed a woman to be a helpmeet to a man, to be a helper to a man, right? Go ahead. You got a question?
So, sir, I was gonna say too, because that is their lust. That's a woman's lust and her temptation. She wants to be God.
Right.
So them telling her that she's God is giving her everything that she wants. That's what happened with Eve in the garden.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just giving her that sense of power that she's above man and the Most High. You know what I mean? That's what leads her away the most. That's why women destroy man today. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right about that. It's already in her to be led away like that. But see, a woman is the weaker vessel. So you can take advantage of a woman, and it could be for good or it could be for bad, or your own deceptiveness of what you're trying to do with her, right? That's why a man can have a woman on the strip hoeing, right? Because a sister is a weaker vessel. And if you really love a sister, you gotta treat her like you love her, and don't treat her like, you know, you don't give a damn about her and have her selling her body and being a whore on the street, right? Or filling her mind with a whole bunch of garbage that she's a god and she can do this and do that, and destroying her even more. If you could, what I want, let me see. Get the Zonovan. Let's get the Zonovan. You got the Zonovan?
Come on.
Give me Ham. I'm gonna show you the difference for those listening. I'm gonna show you the difference. This is the Zonovan Pictorial Bible Dictionary. Show you the difference between Ham. Like I said, we derive from Shem, but Ham is the father of the Africans. And in different places, you will see that they will even call, you know, certain African tribes Hamitic or Hamite, right? You got any questions, brother? Anything on any particular scripture or anything like that? You good?
Let's see. The actual word. Okay, I got it.
Got it.
Ham in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. The youngest son of Noah.
So Ham was the youngest son of Noah. Noah had 3 sons. Go ahead.
Born probably about 96 years before the flood.
So he was born about 96 years before the flood. Keep going.
And one of the 8 persons to live through the flood.
And one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. Keep reading.
He became the progenitor. The progenitor.
It says he became the progenitor, meaning he became the father of. Go ahead.
Of the dark races.
So he became the father of the dark races. It sounds like Ham is the father of all the dark races. Keep reading.
Not the Negroes.
Not the what?
Not the Negroes.
Not the Negroes. So Ham was the father of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Keep reading.
The Egyptians.
The Egyptians. He's the father of the Egyptians. Keep reading.
Ethiopians.
The Ethiopians. Keep reading.
The
The Libyans.
Libyans.
The Libyans.
And Canaanites.
And the Canaanites, South Africans. So Ham became the father of all of the Hamitic tribes today, right? And so there is a difference between the Negroes and the Negroes who are the children of Ham. The children of Shem, and the Africans who are the children of Ham, right? And because we were enslaved not only in Egypt but Babylon, but because the white man romanticized about Egypt so much, and he's made movies about Egypt, and the white man loves Egypt. And so because of his love of the gold and the splendor of Egypt, black people have fallen in love with Egypt and understanding, okay, this was a black nation. And because we don't have an identity, we gravitate to the first thing we see that has all the gold and the royalty and say, that's us. We were them. We was kings and queens, right? That's what we say. We think that we were them when in actuality we were the slaves in their city and in their great nation. We were the slaves. We were the builders. We were what you would call the hand. Hand is another word for slave. Or, you know, the white man tries to cover it up and says we were the Hiskos, right? We were the Hiskos or the Ammo. That's what they tell you in history books. The Hykos or the Hiskos, the Shepherd Kings, or the Ammo. These were people that came into Egypt, and they lived in a place called, the Bible calls it Goshen, right? But in the record, it is called Avaris in ancient Egypt. And it was a city where the workforce or the slaves worked. And let me tell you something about ancient Egypt. They sold drugs in ancient Egypt. Do you know what we used to work for? Our people used to work for beer and bread as payment. That's the people that built the pyramids. That's what they were paid: beer and bread. You know, when they dug up the mummies, and the mummies, right? The mummies had cocaine in their system.
Mm.
The mummies, the Egyptians were selling. You know, the coca plant only grows one place on Earth, in South America. The Egyptians were selling to South America to get dope, right? And it was in their DNA. They was smoking. They was toting. They was sniffing. They was smoking. I don't know how they was doing it, but it was when they tested them, they had cocaine in their system, right? So if you believe we African, you believe in Pan-Africanism, you believe in Egyptology and the conscious community, and that we are those people, you are following a crackhead doctrine. You a goddamn crackhead, and I can bet for sure you smoke weed. You're a junkie, right? If you believe that black people in America, after hearing all of the truth and hearing all of the things that come out that the ISUBK bring out, and you still believe that, it's because you believe a crackhead doctrine, man. The pharaohs was crackheads. It was junkies. You know, like in the black community, we like to shame one another for being on crack and heroin and methamphetamine. We shame those people, right? We shame them and say, man, you're a smoker. Well, you following a smoker philosophy. If you think that we are African, if you think that we Egyptian, if you think that we you know what I mean, we are those people, we not. We better than them. We God's chosen people, man. And we die for a lack of knowledge. Give me Hosea 4:6. We die for a lack of knowledge. We die because we don't know, man. We die because we searching, and we claim things because we're searching. We don't have nothing. That's why we Christian. That's why we Catholic, right? We don't have an identity. That's why, you know, I grew up, because I grew up in Black and Hispanic community, and I had a homeboy, he used to draw all the little Aztec stuff, you know, the Aztec warrior stuff. And that's why Mexicans think they Aztec warriors. When they get a tattoo or something, be an Aztec warrior on a lowrider or something. We don't got an identity, man. Only thing we can go back to is what we know, right? And that's what we go back to, but that's not really us. That's what our ancestors had become, but that's not who we are, who we were. The Lord gave us an identity, and we're the greatest people on the planet Earth. We just gotta tap into that. Give me that. You got that Hosea 4:6?
Come on. The book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
We are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We are very passionate people. We're very forgiving people. Like, you can do a lot. Like, Black and Hispanic people are some of the most forgiving people ever. Like, you talk about putting them in slavery. You talk about conquering them, taking their land. You talk about putting them in immigration detention centers, putting them on reservations, and they'll still love you. Go ahead, Rob.
Isn't that called like a form of Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, brother. We do have a form of Stockholm syndrome. We've been in captivity all this time, and then they show us a little bit of compassion, show us a little bit of humanity, and then we're like, oh, maybe they're not that bad. It's not that bad. Like the brother hit it on the nail.
Right.
You know, that lack of knowledge, it is Stockholm syndrome, right? Because we don't know who we are, and so the minute that they show us some type of kindness, we think like, oh, you know, maybe, you know, I know they put our kid, they're missing like 1,500 kids. They don't know where they at in the immigration detention center. They put us in there, but you know, maybe people need to do it the right way. Maybe I've heard Hispanic brothers say, well, that's their fault. They need to do it the right way. They need to get their green card and do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? We start to side with the oppressor. We start to like look at things from his point of view, right? And you'll hear Black people say, well, after the police kill somebody, well, you know, we gotta stop killing ourselves in order for them to respect us and stop killing us. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, it's one thing for people to kill each other. It's another thing when another race kills you, right? But we don't have knowledge of that. We don't have knowledge of these scriptures that what is wrong is wrong. You can't sugarcoat what is wrong. We feel it in our spirit, but we don't want to fight it. And it's because we don't have the knowledge of who we are, and we don't even have the knowledge of what's righteous. If we had the knowledge as black people of what's righteous, we would know that the white man is the devil. We would say, no, these people are demonic. They're devils. Like, you can't get around what they're doing to us. You can't get around how they have treated us. Somebody has to pay, right? Because in the Bible it's righteous, but because we got Stockholm syndrome and we feel for our oppressor and we feel that we're all human now, we can't seem to grasp that right there. We can't seem to get it. Like, damn, a wrong was done to us and it's never been paid for. Somebody needs to pay for it. We would rather say, you know what, let bygones be bygones, let's move forward. And then it happens again and again and again, and then we find ourselves in the same spot 10 years from now, right? Is that, go ahead and finish that off.
Come on. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
And because we have rejected knowledge. So if you're an Israelite, say somebody out there in the streets and we're speaking, and they hear this and they reject it. The conscious community, the people that think that we're African, they reject this, saying like, we're not. We're God's chosen people. We're totally different. They reject it. Guess what? The Lord is going to reject them, right? And that's when hell going to come. Hell going to happen to them. And then they're going to think about it and say, you know what? I probably should have listened to those brothers that was telling me what they was telling me. Because right now I'm living it out, right? We reject the Lord, and the Lord reject us. And when the Lord rejects us, that's the worst thing, because now we're in a strange land in captivity. We're in a land that our Hispanic brothers is in a land that they used to roam freely, but now they call it illegal alien. The Native American Indian is in a land that he roamed freely, but now he's on a reservation suffering from the highest rates of suicide and alcoholism because we don't have knowledge of ourselves and our heritage, and we don't understand that this man that we're dealing with is the physical counterpart of Satan on earth. We die from a lack of knowledge. You can drop that out.
Oh God.
Yeah, so that's definitely an issue with our people. We do have Stockholm syndrome, and we do love our oppressor, and we do feel sorry for them. Like for the life of me, I couldn't understand why when some like famous white actor dies, and like on social media you see all kind of black people like, oh, like they really hurt over it. And I'll be looking like, I guess I've been in the truth too long. I'll be like, who the heck? Okay. Yeah, like it's a lot of people dying every day. A lot of people, like people die, what do they say? People die every day, B. Like Cameron. People die every day, man. Like, I'm not gonna trip over these people because you need to save that compassion that you have for them and give it to your people. Like all that compassion we have for our oppressor, we need to give it to us. We need to save it for us. And so, because we don't know who we are, we suffer, and we in a continual loop, right? So give me Revelations 11 and 8. I'm gonna end it with this. Revelations 11 and 8. Revelations 11 and 8. Matter of fact, hold Revelation 11 and 8. Give me Isaiah 36 and 6. Isaiah 36 and 6. And like I said, man, thinking that we Egyptian, thinking that black people are Egyptian, or thinking that black people are African, that is a crackhead philosophy and doctrine. That's a junkie doctrine. You know what I mean? There's no way to prove that. There's no archaeology to prove that. But there's plenty of archaeology to prove that Jews, black Jews, was all throughout West Africa. There's plenty of archaeology to show that people were living like Jews in West Africa. You have the prophecies of the Bible that show that the children of Israel would be enslaved and put in ships, right? Which is the transatlantic slave trade. There's plenty of clues, plenty of archaeology, plenty of history to prove that we are God's chosen people and we are not Hamites, right? Go ahead,
Con. 36 and 6.
36 and 6, Isaiah 36.
Con. The book of Isaiah, chapter 36 and verse 6. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed.
So the Lord is saying we trust in the staff of a broken reed. A staff is a symbol of, power and kingship. A staff is something also that you can lean on, like a cane. The Lord said we trust in a broken reed, a broken cane, a broken staff. Like imagine if you took a staff and you broke it, a piece of wood and you broke it. They have sharp edges and jagged, and now we trust in that. Go ahead, keep reading.
On Egypt.
On Egypt. Read it from the top.
Con. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed. On Egypt.
We trust in the staff of the broken reed on Egypt, right? Spiritually on America. Back then, our people came out into the wilderness and they turned around and wanted to go back to Egypt. They worshiped the goddess of Hathor, right? And they rebelled against Moses and they fought Moses, and the Lord opened the earth up and swallowed them up and killed all of them that rebelled, right? But they trusted in Egypt because they ate good in Egypt. Egypt was a big city, it was a great city. Today, America is Egypt. It's the land of opportunity, home of the brave, and our people trust in America. Keep reading.
Con. Whereon, if a man lean, it will go into his hand.
So if a man lean on it, this broken staff, you leaning on it like you would lean on a one that's not broken. It's jagged. It'll pierce your hand. Keep reading.
And pierce it.
And pierce your hand, right? Go ahead. Painful. Go ahead.
So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all that trust in him.
So is Pharaoh king of Egypt, that all that trust in him. You trust that we, in Egypt, and that we Egyptian. You trust in America, in the power of America, the military of America, right? The security of America, and it's going to be pain to you. It's going to pierce you. It's going to give you pain. You're going to have heartache. It's going to hurt, right? Because you put your trust in that and not the Holy One of Israel. You put your trust in America. You put your trust in the Benjamins, in Ben Franklin, and who's on the $20 film?
Andrew Jackson.
You put your trust in Andrew Jackson and Ben Franklin and George Washington, right? And not of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's going to hurt you, right? Just like it hurt our people in the past.
Right.
And just like I say, we are not Egyptian. You can't put your trust in Egypt. Egypt is some goddamn dust. The pyramids is damn dust. You can go on the internet and look at the goddamn pyramids. It's trash all over the goddamn thing, where you got Asians over there as tourists pissing in the corners of the pyramids.
Right.
Egypt is destroyed like the Lord said it would be. The Lord prophesied that Egypt would be desolate and won't be no more. Egypt is a goddamn tourist attraction of rubble today. The Egyptians is no longer there. The Arabs run Egypt today.
Right.
And what the Lord said came to pass. It's no more, right? So you can't put your trust in that, but you can put your trust in the God of Israel and the law, statute, commandments, in these rules and regulations to be moral, to be righteous, to be upstanding and upright, and to have a life that's better than the life you're living right now. That's better than the life of being on drugs. It's better than the life of being a whore, being a whoremonger, being a drug dealer. You can have a better life, but you won't get that better life thinking you African. You won't get that better life depending and leaning on America. Give me Revelations 11 and 8, and we're going to end with this. America has showed us that it cannot help us. We've put our trust in America, hoping that America can save us and fix us and do things for us. but it has not. America does fix other nations. When they come to America, they get fixed. They get business loans to prosper. They get subsidies. They get things. But when it comes to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we have to go through all the loops. We have to go through all the obstacles, right? And we have to go above and beyond to get what they give freely to other people. Go ahead, Al.
Okay. The book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which fit.
It says, "In their dead bodies shall lie in the street." Right? Our bodies. And this is not talking about. It's not talking about. Excuse me. It's not talking about physically bodies laying in the street. Read it from the top.
Con. The book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
So it says in their dead bodies, right? Meaning we are spiritually dead in America. God's people are like the Walking Dead. You ever seen the Walking Dead? And you got zombies everywhere. That's Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians.
Right.
Right. You don't gotta be afraid. Like it's like this. Like you're afraid to go to the cemetery. You're afraid to go to the funeral parlor, but you're around dead bodies every goddamn day. It's Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians on drugs and high. It's dead everywhere, man. Dead people everywhere. Spiritually dead. Don't know who you are, you dead. You understand? Keep reading from the top.
Con. The book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
Of the great city. The great city is America. Keep reading.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Sodom for LGBTQ, and Egypt for the hard bondage and slavery, the oppression. That's America. So we in America, dead men walking, dead women walking, right? In a place that pushes homosexuality, transgenderism, pronouns, binary, all kind of things they coming up with. Pedophilia, and also oppression, bondage. That is America, man. And so as Black and Hispanic and Native Indian people, we have to wake up to our true identity. Like I said in the beginning of this class, Africans are not our brothers. They have never been our brothers.
Right.
We are totally different from Africans. Yes, we came from the same continent, but that's just like Chinese and Japanese. They come from the same continent, look similar, but they are not the same.
Right.
Right. The Lord put a difference between the children of Israel and the Egyptians, which are Hamites. And so for Black and Hispanic people, what we need to understand, Black people in particular, what you need to understand is that you are God's chosen people. And to get out of the conscious community, get out of all of those doctrines that say that we are African and pit you against your brothers. You understand? We're God's chosen people. We are the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And with that, I'll pass the class to priest and officer, not society. Let's clap it up.
Oh. Man of Israel, Amijam, please stand. I'll face the teacher. Give a courtesy salute to the teacher. Man of Israel, Amijam Shabbat. Amijam, Barak, Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shah Barakatah.
Yahweh Hashem, El Shabbat,
Yajim Matah, class dismissed.